Tom Thumb, retold from the original by the Brothers Grimm. Once upon a time there lived a poor woodcutter and his wife. They were so sad because they had no children. "A little child would make me so happy," said the woodcutter's wife. "It'd be lovely if I had a little child to love and care for. It wouldn't even matter if he were no bigger than a thumb." "Yes, a little child would certainly bring laughter to our house," said the woodcutter. Merlin, the great magician, heard their plea. A child no bigger than a thumb? What a wonderful idea, he thought. So he granted them their dearest wish. A few months later, a tiny little boy was born. He was no bigger than a thumb. So the woodcutter and his wife called him Tom Thumb. He was very easy to look after. The woodcutter fed him on cake crumbs and gave him a little chair for a bed. The couple loved their son dearly, but they knew he would never grow more than a few inches tall. Then one day the woodcutter said to his wife, "It's a pity Tom isn't any bigger. If he was, he would be able to drive the horse and cart into the forest for me." Tom Thumb overheard his father and said, "Please let me help, father. I can take the horse and cart for you." "Don't be foolish, Tom," said his mother. "You're far too small. You might fall off the horse and be killed." "You get the horse ready, mother, and I'll show you how I can drive it," said Tom. Tom Thumb's mother put the harness onto the horse. "Now, little one," she said, "show me how you're going to drive this huge creature." "Sit me in the horse's ear," said Tom. "Then I'll be able to tell him when to start and stop. When I get to the woods, father will be waiting for me. He'll be able to lift me down." Tom's mother wasn't too keen on this idea, but she lifted up her little son and sat him in the horse's ear. "Be careful," she said as she waved goodbye. Off went the horse and cart with Tom tucked safely in the horse's ear. The horse did exactly what he was told. When Tom wanted him to gallop along, he whispered, "Go like the wind." When he wanted him to trot, he said, "Steady, my beauty." When they reached the forest, two men caught sight of the horse and cart. "How strange that no one is driving that horse and cart," said one of the men to his comrade. "Yes," said the other, "and listen, I can hear someone talking to the horse." They both hid behind a tree. Once again they heard a little voice talking to the horse. The two men followed the horse, the cart, and the invisible rider deep into the heart of the forest. Tom Thumb's father was busy cutting wood when he saw the horse and cart coming towards him. "You've done very well to get all this way without getting lost, my son," said the woodcutter, and he gently lifted him out of the horse's ear. When the two men in the woods saw the little fellow, they were amazed. "We could put him in a circus," muttered one. "Yes, he'd make us lots of money," said the other. They approached the woodcutter. "We've seen your lovely little son," they said, "and we'd like to give you a good price for him. Here, take these 2 bags of gold, and we'll take him off your hands." "I wouldn't take all the gold in the world for my precious son. Be off with you." "Let them give you a good price for me," said Tom Thumb. "I'd love to go on an adventure, and don't worry, I'll come back to you when I've been on my travels." "All right, my son, you can go with these men, but you must take care," said the woodcutter. So he took the bags of gold, and one of the men lifted Tom Thumb onto the brim of his hat. "He'll be the star of the show in every circus in the land," he said. "Yes, we'll be able to make a fortune," said his friend. Tom sat happily on the brim of the hat. He had a good view, and he was enjoying the ride. The wicked pair walked on through the forest until nightfall. "Let me down," said Tom. "It's dark and I'm tired." "No, you can't get down," the men told him. "That's your home for now, and that's where you'll stay." "If you're not going to let me down, I'm going to jump," said Tom. Worried that he might damage himself, they let the little fellow down. "Catch me if you can," cried Tom, and before anyone had a chance to grab him, the boy ran into a mouse hole. "Goodbye," he cried. "I enjoyed the ride." The men were very angry. They poked at the hole with 2 long sticks, and they shouted down to him, but Tom taunted them, crying out, "You can't catch me." He was safely tucked away at the end of the tunnel. Eventually the 2 men gave up. "We'll never catch him now," they said, and they marched away, puffing and sighing. When all was quiet and Tom was sure the men had gone, he crept out of the little tunnel. He looked around the forest to find himself a new home, and then he saw the perfect hiding place, a snail shell. He quickly hid in the shell. It was just his size. As Tom started to doze off, he heard footsteps in the distance. Tom listened carefully. The footsteps were getting closer. The wicked men had returned, and they were plotting something. "So just how are we going to steal the gold and silver from the vicar's house?" he heard one of them say. Tom shouted to the men from the safety of his shell. "I can take you to a house that's full of gold and silver," he cried. "I'm small enough to squeeze in anywhere and take anything you want." The two men could hear the voice, but they didn't know where it was coming from. "Where are you?" they said. "I'm in the snail shell at your feet. Pick it up," shouted Tom. One of the men picked up the shell and peeped inside. "It's our little friend again," he told his comrade. "Let's take him with us. He'll be able to squeeze in and steal the treasure for us." Tom Thumb led the men to the house. One of them lifted him onto the window ledge, and he squeezed himself in through a small gap in the window. Once Tom was in and he'd had a good look around, he shouted out to the men outside. He made sure he shouted loud enough for the owners to hear. "There's plenty of gold and silver in here," he cried at the top of his voice. "How much would you like me to take?" "Keep your voice down," said one of the men. "You'll wake the whole neighborhood." "How much was that you said? 2 bags of gold or 3? And how much of the silver would you like?" This time Tom shouted louder than before. "Shh! Just stop shouting and throw us whatever money you can," said the robbers, "and be quick about it." "Did you say you wanted me to throw all the money out the window? That might take some time. It's rather heavy." Tom shouted in the loudest voice he could muster. His shouts woke the vicar's wife. "Be off with you," she cried as she came running down the stairs. The two men made a quick escape. The vicar's wife ran into the kitchen. All was dark, so she lit a candle. The thieves had already run away, and Tom was so small she didn't notice him, scuttling across the kitchen floor. "I must have been having a bad dream," she thought. The vicar's wife went straight back to bed, while Tom made a quick escape to the cowshed. He found himself a nice soft bed of hay, and as he had had such a busy day, he fell fast asleep. The next morning, the vicar's wife was up at the crack of dawn to feed her favourite cow. She went to the cowshed. Little Tom was asleep in the hay, but she didn't notice him. "Here's a bundle of hay for you, my beauty," she said. The hungry cow ate the hay straight away, and little did the vicar's wife know that she had scooped up Tom Thumb in the bundle of hay. The cow was very hungry, and she ate all the hay up. Tom awoke to find he was being tossed about. He saw a huge tongue lashing about in front of him. Then the little fellow started falling. At first he thought he was falling into a deep, dark cave. "Where am I?" he cried. "There are no windows, no doors. What kind of place is this?" Hay kept falling on top of him, and he was being tossed about all over the place. At last he realized where he was. "I'm inside a cow's stomach. Stop eating that hay," he yelled. "There's quite enough here. You don't need any more. Anyway, there's not an inch of space left down here." Tom kept on crying out to the cow, but the hungry cow kept on eating the hay. When the vicar's wife came to milk the cow, she was surprised to hear a voice coming from its stomach. In fact, it frightened her so much that she fell off her milking stool. The frightened woman ran out of the cowshed and into the house. She cried out to her husband, "There's a talking cow in the cowshed." "A talking cow?" he said. "You must be hearing things." So he went to the cowshed to see for himself. "Don't eat any more hay," shouted Tom from the depths of the cow's stomach. "Someone must have cast a spell on this cow," said the vicar. "We must kill it." So the cow was killed and thrown into the farmyard. A little later, a wolf was passing by. What a tasty-looking cow," he thought, and he ate the cow with little Tom inside in one gulp. Tom cried out from inside the wolf's stomach. "I can take you somewhere where there's lots to eat," he told the wolf. "Is it a long way off?" said the wolf. "No, it's not far from here," Tom told him. "Listen to me. To get there we must get through a narrow tunnel." So the wolf followed Tom Thumb's directions. Tom told the wolf to walk on through the forest until he came to a tunnel. Eventually, when he reached the tunnel, the wolf found that it led straight to a kitchen that was full of delicious, juicy food. The kitchen was in the house of the woodcutter and his wife. "Help yourself to as much food as you like," said Tom. The wolf ate and ate and ate. Soon he was so fat he could hardly move. "I'll be off now," said the wolf. "Oh, no, you won't," thought Tom. The wolf tried to go back through the tunnel, but he just couldn't. He was too fat. No matter how he tried to squeeze himself through, it just couldn't be done. Then, from the depths of the wolf's stomach, Tom started to shout. "Have you had your fill yet? There's plenty of food left. Why don't you eat some more?" "Keep quiet," said the wolf. "We'll be found out." But Tom didn't care. He wanted his father to come to the kitchen. He kept on shouting at the top of his voice. All this commotion woke the woodcutter and his wife. They rushed down the stairs to see what was going on. The woodcutter peeped through the keyhole of the kitchen door. Then he turned to his wife and whispered, "It's a wolf and he's eating all our food. Pass me my club and I'll kill him with one blow." The woodcutter's wife passed him the club and he rushed into the kitchen. Just as he was about to strike the wolf, a little voice cried out, "Be careful, father, I'm inside the wolf." "Oh, do take care, don't kill our little son," said the woodcutter's wife. To be safe, the woodcutter struck the wolf on the head. He killed him with a single blow. Then little Tom struggled out. "Phew! Fresh air at last!" The woodcutter and his wife were overjoyed to see their little son again. "You're such a precious boy to us," said the woodcutter. "We've missed you very much." "Oh, I quite enjoyed my adventure, father," said Tom. "But it's good to be back." "You're such a good boy," said his mother. "Now you're home safe and sound, we'll look after you until the end of our days." "Yes," said his father, "and I promise I'll never sell you again, not for all the money in the world." The end.